Hey, what's up guys? This is the iPhone 14 Pro and the Pro Max. Let's go ahead and unbox these and review them. So, what are some of the differences between the normal Pro and the Pro Max? So, the Pro is a 6.1 inch screen and it does look really nice. This gold color actually looks nicer than what I was thinking it would look like in person. So, it's the phone right there. Taking this off, always a nice feeling. We could see that the notch is gone, but they have the little camera and the Face ID and creating the dynamic island, which is new. And everything else is pretty much very similar. We have the silence, we have the volume up and down buttons, and we don't have an eSIM. We don't have a SIM card slot anymore, so this one is on eSIM. And unfortunately, one thing I don't like about the new iPhone already is that we're still on the lightning cable, which, most stuff is already on USB-C, so I'm not quite sure why they don't go to USB-C already, but hopefully next year. I honestly thought it would be this year by now. And we have a USB-C to the lightning cable, and just the basic stuff. We have the sticker and the instructions and stuff, and it's basically telling you it doesn't have a SIM card anymore. You need to use an eSIM. Now, I believe you could store up to 8 eSIMs, but only 2 can be active at the same time. Alright, this one looks a bit different too than what I was expecting color-wise, but very similar to the 13 Pro Max, which is another one that I have. So these are the colors side by side. Screen size is obviously bigger. So the Pro and the Pro Max essentially have all the same internals, except, obviously we have the 6.1 inch screen size versus the 6.7 inch screen size. Both are OLED displays. And the Pro Max also has a larger battery, so it can last a bit longer when you look at the playbacks and stuff according to the Apple specs. And the same type of thing here where we have the same cable and essentially the same sticker and everything else, and that's pretty much it. So for a frame of reference, this is the 13 Pro Max and it looks very, very similar. The cameras do look a tad bit larger and it looks like it's a bit farther apart from each other, but essentially, if you were to look at this, they pretty much look the same. Very, very similar in design and everything, except this one does have the SIM card where the new one does not. I played with the phones for a few hours to get a better feel for them, and they feel very similar to the 13 Pro Max, especially in terms of performance. So I ran a Geekbench test just real quick to see the numbers, and these two, I expected them to be very similar or the same really, because they have the same exact chip, the A16 Bionic. And I also ran the test on the iPhone 13 Pro Max, which has the A15 Bionic, and there is a difference, but not too much of a difference, which explains why it really kind of feels the same. Getting into the UI feels very similar to the iPhone 13 Pro Max that I was using that had iOS 15 at the time, and essentially very, very similar. You scroll the same way, you open up apps the same way, you scroll through these, you close apps the same way, and your shortcuts are the same, your notifications are the same. So the way you access the phone is very, very similar. But the cool thing is this dynamic island, because the way I can describe it is it looks like a generic widget because it works with different apps, not just Apple apps, but different apps. And it also acts as a magic shortcut. So let me give you guys an example. I open up YouTube Music and I'm playing a song and I close it, goes here, and it shows me the visualizations, which is pretty cool, and I start surfing the web and I'm like, okay, I'm checking out this scooter, or if I want to check out something else or whatever, or then I close that or whatever, I open the camera and then close that, go to the App Store, and I'm basically just going through different stuff, and then I'm like, oh, you know what, I want to go to the next song. So what I would normally do is I would basically do this by habit, find it, click on it, and then go to the next song. But I don't have to do that anymore. What I could do is I could just tap this and it'll take me straight there. So I really like this shortcut, and the visualization's also pretty cool, and it works with YouTube as well and a whole bunch of other apps. So if I go to my GT2 video that I did, if I close this the same way, it shows up there. So if I'm listening to something that I just want to listen to the audio of YouTube, I could do that as well. So it's pretty cool, and again, I click on it, it takes me right back here. Now, does the dynamic island bother you when you're watching a video on the screen? And the answer is yes and no. If you're watching the original size of the video, it's not really going to bother you because you already have these super thick bezels. However, if you pinch the zoom, it might bother some people. I mean, it can get a bit annoying that it's here, but I mean, there's really nothing they can do about that because it's something physical. Now, for a quick audio test, I'm going to point the speakers to my shotgun mic and press play. Now, does it sound amazing? No, not even close. It's a phone, and I don't expect it to sound amazing. I feel like the only time phones had decent enough, I mean, a little bit better than decent speakers, were a few years back on the Android phones when they actually had the stereo speakers where the speakers were actually in the screen. Those were the times that they did sound a bit better, but even then, honestly, most of the time I listen to it with earbuds, so the AirPods for these, or the Beats, or some other type of, depending on which phone it is. So, it's a phone, it sounds okay, it's loud enough, it's not amazing. And finally, let's talk about the camera. Now, you may have noticed that the audio quality and the camera angle has changed a bit, and the reason for that is because I'm recording the remaining portion of this video on the iPhone 14 Pro in 1x zoom at 4K 30 frames per second. What's so special about this? Well, the main sensor is now 48 megapixels, so for a number of years they did not change that. They didn't add megapixels, I should say, where they did that this time. And this is supposed to improve low light photos. So I took some low light photos, I also took some day photos, and they all came out really good. I also did some video with this, and it also came out pretty good. I'll show you guys some examples of that. They kind of have this new anti-shake mode where it records at 2.8K, not 4K. But I mean, it's not going to be as good as the GoPro, and the GoPro can actually record that in 5K resolution if you wanted to. But I really like where they're going with this thing, and the evolution of the camera on any phone has been amazing. Because really, if we go back 20-25 years, the cell phone was really just there to make phone calls. Then they added text messaging, then they added GPS, maps, apps, games, cameras, everything. And now when I go places, and for the last several years, I should say, I'm not even really thinking about, hey, let me take my mirrorless camera with me so I can get some really nice shots. Now, if I'm going somewhere with an absolute purpose, I most likely will take my camera. But for 99% of the time, the phone camera is more than good enough. And this phone camera is amazing. In fact, it's so good, I'm going to compare it to the Galaxy S22 Ultra, which is one of my favorite cameras from all the phones that I've tested, especially the zoom capability of this. I mean, I can say that right now, the iPhone's not going to beat the zoom on the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. But here are really the justifications that, in my mind, I'm thinking about. I really like this dynamic island. I didn't mention, but when you hook up your AirPods, that also shows up in this one as well. Lock screen, face unlock, a lot of this stuff just shows up from there, and it's just amazing. I really, really like that. And the camera quality has improved. So is it worth getting? I don't know. It really depends on your situation. If your iPhone's a 13, probably not. If it's a 12, maybe not. If it's a 11 or older, probably yes. If it's a 10 or older, I would say yes. But let me know what you guys think in the comment sections below. And as always, smash that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.